All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle a question that honestly should be on everyone's mind when it comes to their personal security. I want you to think about that government ID number for a second. You know, the one you use for taxes, for your job, pretty much every official thing you do. Could that number, that single string of digits, actually be the weakest link in your entire identity? Well, the answer is a huge, definitive yes. And that's kind of scary, right? Because in the wrong hands, that number becomes one of the most powerful tools a thief could ever ask for. So, to really get why it's so powerful, we have to stop thinking of it as just a number. It's not, it's more like a key. Actually, it's a master key. Without one number, a thief can unlock your whole life. They can open bank accounts, apply for credit cards, all in your name. They can even pull off this really sophisticated crime called synthetic identity theft. It's where they mix your real ID number with a bunch of fake info to create a brand new, fraudulent identity. It's literally the ultimate backdoor into your entire financial world. So the big question is, how do these thieves get their hands on this master key? For most of us, when we think about this, an image probably pops into our heads, something straight out of a movie. Yeah, we imagine these super smart hackers in hoodies sitting in dark rooms, just hammering away at keyboards, trying to crack some giant, super secure government database. It's a really dramatic picture, but here's the thing. It's almost completely wrong. And this is really the key takeaway here. Think about it. Why would a thief spend all that energy trying to break into a digital fortress when, so often, the front door is just left wide open? They almost never, ever go after the government directly. Okay, so if they're not these genius hackers, what are they actually doing? Well, the reality is way simpler, and honestly, it's a lot scarier because of how simple it is. Get this, 85%. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how much identity theft relies on really simple, low-tech stuff. We're not talking about complex coding here. We're talking about basic deception and sometimes just plain carelessness. So where are the real weak spots? This is pretty eye-opening. 60% of these breaches happen at businesses, places you trust with your data every day. And an incredible 40%? That happens because people are tricked into giving up their own information. So the biggest threat isn't some government server. It's a really convincing email, a clever phone call, or maybe a data leak from your doctor's office. So this is basically the low-tech playbook that thieves are using. It all comes down to 4 main strategies, and you'll notice that none of them involve hacking a federal server. Let's break them down. Okay, first up is social engineering and phishing. These are those super urgent calls or texts that claim to be from the government or your bank, right? They're designed to make you panic and act without thinking. Then there's just good old-fashioned physical theft, like a stolen wallet for sure, but also just dumpster diving for mail you forgot to shred. After that, you've got data breaches at third-party places that have your info, like your job or a hospital. And last but not least, there's the digital trail we all leave behind. Oversharing on social media is a big one, or just having too much personal info out there in public records. All right, so let's say the worst happens. What do you do? The absolute key is to act fast. So let's look at the immediate steps you'd need to take in a couple of different countries to start getting things back under control. The most important thing is to have a plan ready. So, for example, in the Philippines, your first calls would be to your banks and the Credit Information Corporation. Then you'd contact the NBI's Cybercrime Division. Over in the US, the game plan is a little different. Step 1 is to freeze your credit with all the major bureaus. Then you file an official report on the government's dedicated site, which is identitytheft.gov. And it's really important to remember, you've got legal backup. Both countries have specific laws on the books to deal with this stuff. In the Philippines, you've got the Cybercrime Prevention Act and the Data Privacy Act. In the US, there's the Identity Theft and Assumption Deterrence Act. These laws are all designed to protect you and give the authorities the teeth they need to go after these criminals. But you know what they say, the best defense is a good offense. So let's switch gears and talk about how you can build up your own personal shield so this doesn't happen in the first place. And here's the good news. The best ways to protect yourself are actually pretty simple. For starters, don't carry sensitive IDs around with you unless you absolutely have to. Get a shredder and use it for any documents with personal info before they hit the trash. Always, always be skeptical if someone calls or emails you out of the blue asking for your ID number. And finally, make it a habit to check your credit reports regularly. That's where you'll spot any weird activity first. So I'll leave you with this question. You lock your front door every day, right? So
Is your digital life unlocked? The threats we've talked about are surprisingly simple. But the good news is, the best defenses are simple too. You just have to be vigilant.